On today's show, I'm joined by Rafael Barlowe, Locked On NBA Big Board. He's had Cooper Flagg as the number one for a long time. Why has he been that high? And what makes him a great number one pick? We'll talk about that and more in today's Locked On Mavs. All right, I got Mark Tatum back up.
I mean, if we get top two, that's insane.
Fourth pick is the Charlotte Hornets.
The Charlotte Hornets.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Stop it. Stop. The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave
Your team every day.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Joining me today from Locked On NBA Big Board, Rafael Barlowe, the draft expert, the draft junkie. He was called at one point. I guess you could still call him that.
Still am.
Rafael, what you got for me?
Still am a draft junkie, and we haven't talked since the Mavericks won the lottery. I was actually at the airport when it happened. I wish I could have saw your reaction live, but it's a week later and we're still talking about it. So obviously it's a big deal.
My reaction is documented. If you haven't seen it, it's on the live. It's on the live feed for Locked On Mavs because we were live on Locked On NBA. So you can go look at that. It's also in the intro that we just played. But yeah, it's insane. So today we'll talk about a bunch of things. Rafael Barlowe's obviously scouted Cooper Flagg and seen him in person. Talk about him as an offensive creator. What's his best offensive skill? Was there any combine chatter about Cooper Flagg that Rafael heard? He was there at the combine as well. But let's start here. Let's get into why is Cooper Flagg number one? He's the number one player on your board, and I'm guessing he's been there a long time. Or I know he's been there for a while for you. And how long has he been number one, and why is he the number one player for you?
He's been number one for the 2025 NBA draft, the moment that he announced that he was reclassifying and entering the 2024 high school graduation class. So it's been, I guess, a year and some change now, and it was before the season. At one point before the season, maybe late summer, I thought that there was a chance Ace Bailey could challenge him, but it was pretty clear after maybe the first two games of the season that Cooper was just in a tier of his own.
Did you see that Ace Bailey was lying about his height and you realized that? And as soon as you figured that out, you were like, no, I can't have him.
I mean, I don't think it was necessarily Ace. I mean, it had to be, it was more people involved with that. But yeah, I mean, from 6'10" to what, 6'7"?
Yeah.
6'7".
It's tough.
But Cooper measured 6'7", and
true.
It's weird because just to the naked eye, I would have guessed that Ace was taller than Cooper Flagg. I would have guessed that he was at least 6'9" at the minimum. So he must have been wearing some thick-soled shoes all season.
Yeah, he's wearing platforms out there doing that.
Speaking of that, I want to tell you a funny story.
Uh-oh.
The NBA team told me that there was a player at the combine. They didn't say which year because they didn't want me to narrow it down, but had orthotics in his socks. He wanted to be measured in socks, and they said, no, you got to take them off. And when he took off his socks, there were orthotics because that inch or two or inch and a half or two could be the difference, maybe $2 million difference or, whatever. So maybe Ace was playing with orthotics.
I was going to say, somebody check Jace Richardson's locker.
Yeah.
See if that was him. He measured it like 6 foot, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's just been the number one guy for so many. It's wild to hear that he's been ever since he reclassified. I remember your reaction when he reclassified. I remember listening to your show at the time. Do you remember thinking back to that? Why he reclassified? What the process was there for him?
I mean, it's kind of simple. You get to the money faster. I mean, even if you think of it from a very long-term standpoint, if you enter at in Cooper's case, 18, he could be up for his second contract at 21. So you think about a guy like Devin Booker, who's probably can sign his fourth contract. And I don't even know if he's 27 years old. And so sometimes the difference long-term could make, are you a free agent at 32 or 33? How much of a difference it could be. I mean, we saw what Paul George didn't make much of a difference, but In some cases,
It
when you
should've.
know your player is, what's that?
It should have made a difference.
Yeah. In some cases, if the guy's mature enough, then you can get to the money faster, and everybody wants to get to that second contract. And the way the contracts are set up now, if a player is a max contract guy for multiple times, he's going to make $1 billion in his career.
That's where we're going. That's where we're going with this. And Cooper Flagg is probably on pace to do that, and we'll see what his first contract looks like. You also mentioned, so the NBA big board, I've been a subscriber for a while, and you've got your big board on there, and you said that Cooper Flagg came in, he exceeded your expectations. You had him number 1, and everybody had these high expectations for him already, but he exceeded your expectations in his freshman season. Jay Billis today mentioned that he's the best Duke freshman to ever play for Duke, which I started to look through the list, and it's like, a lot of people have like Marvin Bagley is like the best Duke freshman ever. So I don't know if that's as big of a compliment as I thought it was, but still.
Statistically, Marvin Bagley was pretty good.
He was really good. And then there's obviously Zion. There's, a whole bunch of Paolo and Carroll. There's a bunch of other freshmen that were really good. But why did Flagg exceed your expectations?
Well, when I first saw Flagg play, he was 15, and I thought he was really, really good. And I thought, this is a guy that could be the number 1 pick whenever he's draft eligible. But I saw him more as a play finisher. Like, people may laugh at this, but my initial comparison was like, he's Kenyon Martin, a modern day Kenyon Martin with a little bit more shooting range. So he's going to be this athletic play finisher, A+ defender, shot blocker, rebounder, but a guy that's going to thrive with a point guard like Jason Kidd. I mean, Kenyon Martin was really at his best when he
Ironic.
Yeah, when he had like a guy that was a table setter and could maybe do a little bit of things, but not much more than being a table setter. And then as Cooper developed from his, I want to say his junior year of high school, but he went from like a sophomore to a senior. But in his senior year of high school, I started to see some shooting on the move, a little bit of shot creation. And what I saw from him this year just kind of caught me by surprise. I mean, I saw a better ball handler. I saw, pull-up jumper. I saw that he was more than a play finisher. And in reality, I don't even think he had a lot of his points were just as a play finisher. Like, a lot of them were self-created. He made 3, shot 38% from 3. He posted up some. And while the game it's not like aesthetically pleasing as like a Michael Beasley or Carmelo or Kevin Durant when they were freshmen, but he was very productive. And I think there's a lot of room for him to grow on the offensive end. So that is the part that really caught me by surprise. Is I didn't expect him to shoot 38% from 3 or show like the self-creation this soon.
Yeah, that's something I've seen from a lot of people. And I feel like some scouts are even like catching up to the fact that he's not just this defensive great guy where the offense needs to catch up, that it actually is he's almost like balanced on both ends where, his defense is still better than his offense, but that he is a well-rounded player in that regard.
Yeah, very well-rounded. It's hard to like pick holes in his game and say there's like a glaring weakness. Yes, he can improve the handle a little bit. Yes, he can, become a better mid-range shooter, a better finisher at the rim. But you expect with natural progression, he should be able to improve. But there's not really any glaring holes in his game on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's so exciting to me is that he's just such a well-rounded player that he's going to come in and whatever he can do, whatever on the NBA level that he's able to do, whatever will translate right away. Like he could, like the Mavs will be like, all right, go ahead, do that, and then we'll figure it out around you, and you can just do whatever because there's so many different things that he can do, which I think is exciting. He's not just kind of pigeonholed into, all right, well, if he can't create his own shot, or if he can't get his own jump shot, or if he can't hit spot catch and shoot threes, then he's screwed, right? Like he's got nothing else to turn back to. He's got so many other things that he can turn to. Let's keep talking about where Flagg is as an offensive creator and where we think he's going to go and where we think he can go in the NBA. Let's talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Skiims. When I found out Skiims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. So I was like, all right, well, let's see what we got in these Skiims underwear. They sent us a pair. And as soon as I got it, I loved it. I loved wearing the Skiims underwear. I ordered my own. I paid my own money for it. And I love it. Their men's line offers something for everyone. Boxer briefs, classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance, comfort, and style. Check out Skiims. They have all kinds of different things as well. The lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop Skiims men's at Skiims skims.com/lockedonnba and Skims stores, and then let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Skims.com/lockedonnba. Skims, the official underwear partner of the NBA, WNBA, and USA Basketball.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We have the Locked On Mavs text line. If you want to get texts from us, ask questions, and all kinds of stuff like that, I am answering as many texts as I possibly can on there. 214-643-8637. That's the way to text us directly, ask us questions. Isaac will do mailbags on there. I'll send you every single Mavs rumor I ever hear. I'll send it right on that text line. So subscribe to that. There's a link in the description as well. All right, here with Locked On NBA Big Board host and NBA Big Board Substack writer, Rafael Barlowe. Just scout all around, flying all over the place, seeing these guys. Saw Cooper Flagg when he was 15, knows this guy really well. Where is Cooper Flagg as an offensive creator? You talked about he added some of that kind of stuff, but where do you see him right now, and where do you think he can go in the NBA as an offensive creator?
I honestly think the sky's the limit because he just has so many things that he brings to the table on the offensive end. And in the first segment, I failed to mention how good of a passer he is. He's a really, really good passer. I think as far as like an offensive creator, I don't want to say like he has a deep bag of tricks, but if he can get to like the Kawhi level of efficiency and simplicity at the same time. Kawhi doesn't waste a lot of dribbles. He doesn't need to dance with the ball. He just knows how to get to his spots. And I think with Cooper, he has the ability to where if you put a smaller player on him, it turns into bully ball, which is amazing if you sit and think about it. We're talking about a guy that started the college basketball season at 17 years old.
He's bullying guys.
At the beginning of the season, they told us he was 17 every time he made like a highlight play. Then he turned 18 and you didn't hear it as much. But he does have the ability to post up or just, play physical with weaker defenders. And he's still a long way from his like grown man strength and his grown man body. I think because he started off as like a natural big, as like a 5 at the younger levels, that he still has that in his game. The shooting is getting better. At one point this year, he was very predictable. It just was a spin move. Like you knew that he was driving, it was a spin, and then teams started sitting on it, and he picked up a lot of turnovers early in the season. But as the season went on, you just saw that he simplified it. If there was a big on him, he blew by him. If there was a small on him, he ran through them. And if they played back out of fear of him getting to his launching pad, because once he gets to his launching pad, you can be put on a poster. Then he started making the pull-up jumpers, and then he again shot 38% from 3. Very well-rounded. Again, it may not look as simple and as easy as, like Devin Booker or some other guys, but he's effective and he's efficient. And I just think once he sharpens what he already has, then I think he can be a 22 to 27 point per game scorer in the NBA.
That progression you're talking about where he's adding these things, where he went from just the normal spin move to different counters. You saw that over the course of his freshman year, or did you see that? Obviously, you talked about seeing some of that growth happen from when he was even a senior in high school. That growth and that projection to me is wild to see how he has added things, to see how he's gotten better, to see how a lot of guys questioned his 3-point shooting. And like you said, he shot 38% his freshman year. And that's something that I'm super high on with him, is it seems like he learns, he progresses, he gets better, and he adds things. It's almost like, oh, wow, he added that to his game. And that was quick.
Yeah. One of the things I really like about his development, and I think others should duplicate it, is, again, he started off as like a natural 4 or 5 that could pass the ball. And then his last year playing grassroots basketball, he didn't play at the highest level because he stayed with his local team from Maine. And that team probably wasn't good enough to compete with the other EYBL teams, despite having Cooper Flagg, because I don't think they had another Division I player on the team, maybe his brother. And so instead of playing for like another loaded team, because he played on a very deep and talented Montverde team in high school. I think they're going to have like 4 other guys selected in the first round of this draft. But his last year of EYBL, he played on a team of guys that he needed to carry. In order for them to even be competitive and win a game, he needed to handle the ball. He needed to do everything. So it's like he got live repetitions as a ball handler. It's like he worked on his game against live competition all summer long instead of kind of being pigeonholed into a role where it's like, hey, we want to win the EYBL. We want to win Peach Jam. We're going to play you at where you're best at, which he's still very good. But I feel like some of the progression that he made as a shot creator was because he spent all of his last year in grassroots being double teamed, triple teamed, having to be the point guard and so on. So I thought that progression was very unique in the sense that he played down a level to help work on his game for the next level.
Yeah, like unintentionally, he worked on his next game because
I think it was very intentional. I think it was very, very intentional. Just because he wanted to stay with his teammates from Maine, his mom was the coach. So I do think it was pretty strategic because he could have played on any AAU team in the country. Yeah. But he played 16s instead of 17s, and you can just see how what he practiced on against live competition, how he implemented into his season at Duke.
You mentioned his brother, fraternal twin, Ace Bailey. What's the scouting report on him?
Ace Flagg?
Ace Flags. Why did I say Ace Bailey?
Yeah, I'm about to say that's some unique twins there.
That'd be wild.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I saw him, but you know, the whole
he's committed to Maine. So he's not one of the he's not like on path to be drafted, right?
No. I mean, just it's totally different skill sets, athleticism, and so on. But I mean, I think he can have a solid college career. But I mean, just massive difference between the two.
But if the Mavs are smart, they've got a two-way spot open, right?
Down
the line.
Well, I think Cooper needs to prove. He's got to prove himself first. You make all NBA as a rookie, then yeah, we got your brother on a two-way.
Fair, okay, yeah. Ace, you just gotta hope your brother makes all NBA, and then we got a spot for you, man.
Yeah.
What do you think's his best offensive skill, like right now, like going into the NBA his rookie year? What will be his best offensive skill?
I mean, I know this is going to be a vague answer, but his versatility. He's unique because you can't really pigeonhole him into one thing. Like you can't say he's just an athletic transition finisher, even though he shot 38% from three, and that's usually a person's best skill set when they shoot that, that efficient from deep. So I wouldn't say it's just 3-point shooting. His passing. One thing I want to see is more post up from him because he's skilled around the block. He has the footwork and the strength, but because he's such a good passer, then it's kind of like pick your poison. If you double team him, he's going to make the right play. So again, a vague answer, but I would just say just the versatility and the way that he can impact the game.
That part, the versatility, the being able to do a bunch of stuff, he's going to be able to the Mavs are either going to be able to say, all right, whatever you do well, we're going to figure it out around you. Or they'll be like, all right, you fill in the blanks for us. Like it could go either way for him. And I'm really curious, especially early on. One of the reasons I wanted to ask you about him as an offensive creator is because they're not going to have Kyrie for a little while. They're going to need some of that extra creation. And I'm really interested to see the AD Flagg combo on offense and how they play off of each other. I could see lobs from either of them to the other one, to Lively, to Gafford. And like that's going to be very interesting because it may be one of those scenarios, like you said, when he played for that main team where he had to handle the ball a lot, because he's going to be pushed to do that a little bit more early in this season, depending on if the Mavs get another like high volume guard or creator. And I think that could help him long term too, to be put in that situation where it's kind of a low pressure situation. Like, hey, we're just going to put you out there, a little low pressure. We've got Anthony Davis, but go create a little bit for us.
Yeah, I think for him, that since he already knows where he's going to go, he can already start looking at homes and so on. I think for him, I'd spend the whole summer just working on my ball handling, working on my, I guess, point forward skills, because he's going to have an opportunity to have the ball just have the ball a lot, especially with Kyrie being out. And I think that if Kid is really creative, he just has so many options with Flagg. You can run 4. I'm imagining 4-5 pick and rolls, or 3-5 pick and rolls, or 3-4 pick and rolls. I mean, there's just so many different things that he brings to the table.
Kid said the other day he could envision him being a 2 in the NBA.
I mean, if they want to run these huge lineups,
they could.
I don't know who would be the 1, But
Najee, just do 6'7", 6'9",
yeah,
6'7",
yeah,
just run a huge
that would be
lineup.
crazy.
They did that last year.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that at some point in the season, you're going to see Cooper Flagg play the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and even some small ball 5. I think you could even play him at some small ball 5, which is what I wanted to see Duke play him at the 5 last year, because I thought, man, if you put Cooper Flagg as the roll man with spacing around him, he has the ability to, maybe not as the quick bounce of Amari Stoudemire, but remember just the Amari Stoudemire pick and rolls, where once he got that short roll pass, he could just take off and get to a spot. But with Flagg in the middle of the floor with spacing, he's either going to get you a dunk or he's going to spray the ball to the open corner. So again, like I said, I think he can play some minutes from 1 through 5.
Are we deep enough into the show for me to do this? He would have been the perfect small ball 5 with like PJ, Luka, Kyrie, and whoever else they put out there with him. Like he would have unlocked that lineup. It would have been so good. But
especially that the years where they would give the ball to like Dwight Powell in the middle of the floor and he wouldn't even look at the rim.
It like turns his butt to the basket. Like gets the
Yep.
ball in the middle and turns around.
Yep.
Coming up, was there any combine chatter about Cooper Flagg that you heard? And then at one time you said that he's the most dominant high school defender you've ever scouted. What stood out to you as a high school defender? We'll talk about that and more. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by CarGuru. Shopping for a car, it should be exciting, like drafting Cooper Flagg. Not exhausting, like having to create a big board out of nothing and like scout all these different players and high school players all over the place. That's why we love CarGuru. It's not overwhelming. It helps you. They have over 4 million listings, but they have a bunch of tools and things that can help you. They have verified dealers. They provide real price analysis, give you tools and data to make the right choice without second guessing yourself. Go check out CarGuru and see what is available for you. They have all kinds of makes and models. You do it right from the start. You're like, all right, I want to buy, I want to sell, trade. You search it, you go through. You even have like a budget estimator, which I kind of like, where it says, all right, this is how much I have for a down payment. This is how much I want to pay. This is what my credit score is, estimated. And then it'll tell you what you got. And so I love that about CarGuru. Go check it out. It's no wonder Similar Web estimated traffic data shows CarGuru is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with CarGuru at CarGuru.com. Go to CarGuru.com. Make sure your big deal is the best deal. CarGurus.com. CarGuru.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Rafael, by the way, if you're not listening to Locked On NBA Big Board, you should. You had a good interview with Cedric Coward today. He's kind of rising up draft boards. I hear a lot of people that are like, oh, he could be a guy that rises up. And so go check out that interview. That one is interesting. All kinds of great stuff from Locked On NBA Big Board, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you listen to this. At one point you said that Cooper Flagg is the most dominant high school defender that you've ever scouted. What stood out to you about him?
Everybody was scared of him. it's
fair.
It was a game. Actually, it was here in Dallas, and he was such an intimidating shot blocker that it was like maybe the first or second play of the game, a kid went up for a layup. He just pinned it on the glass. Then there was a play where someone shot a corner 3 and he blocked it. Like when you go to these grassroots tournaments, there's like 3 courts. So the ball went on the other court. They had
there's like stands. He's like jumps over the stands.
Yeah. So after, it was in back-to-back possessions, if I'm not mistaken. After he pins one guy's shot high off the square, then blocks a corner 3, it just got to the point where the guards would turn the corner and they'd see him and they'd kick it out. And so teams were afraid to attack him. And then on the high school level, he was one of the biggest players on the court, if not the biggest. So he could guard your 5.
Yeah. But
even if he needed to stop like a small 5'9" ball handler, he would just swarm them, get steals. And so, he really just changed the dimensions of the court on the high school level. Now, Wembanyama didn't play high school basketball.
I was going to say that would be different.
There's a difference there. Another guy that I saw that was just a really dominant defender on the high school level, that wasn't just like massively tall, but Josh Jackson was like that. Like, on the high school level, if you're like 6'8", 6'9", you can defend 1 through 5 on the high school level. And that was Cooper. He just, whatever position you wanted him to play, he was kind of like, I don't know, just like that linebacker that can just kill offensive game plan because he covers the floor. I remember I forgot the guy's name, Marvin Jones, that played for Florida State. They used to call him Shade Tree because he covered, he just covered the field.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like Cooper Flagg on defense in high school.
I remember I went to one of those Adidas gauntlet. I was working at on like the behind the scenes, and Charles Bassey was there, and he just looked like this mountain of a person, and he was just massive. He looked so big against everybody else. Then he makes the NBA, and I go, "Who's that small center on the Spurs that they're like trotting out there?"
Yeah,
it's like it's insane the difference between the size going from it's basically like a 2-level jump.
Yeah, I mean, NBA positional size is, that's probably the biggest key in scouting. Like, does this guy have the size to play the position that, he plays in high school? Can he play that position in the NBA?
Did you hear any chatter about Cooper Flagg? Was anybody talking, or were people all just saying, I can't believe the Mavericks got the number 1 pick?
Yeah, there was no chatter other than maybe, so I think what was the lottery was Monday. So Tuesday at the combine, it was more like, how did it get, the number 1 pick? One person said that they've known Nico for a long time, Nico Harrison, and they've never seen him show any type of emotion his whole life other than them winning the lottery. So that was, the first half, but then it was more so about like Washington and Charlotte and Utah, how those teams absolutely like fell as low as they could possibly go, just the disappointment behind that. But most of the chatter was Cooper Flagg is Dallas Maverick. How does that happen? And then it was more so like, would Dallas entertain it? Like, the comments, I'm sure you guys have covered it.
Yeah. About
Nico mentioned in the timeline, do they go all in on that timeline by trading Cooper Flagg for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Or, I've even heard Kevin Durant, which sounds appealing, but you don't trade a 18-year-old for 37-year-old?
Yeah, it wouldn't be smart. I don't think 20 years difference. I feel like
that's crazy. Think about that. We've probably never seen a trade in the history of sports where there's a 20-year difference.
Cooper Flagg was 13 years old. There's a video going around. He's 13 years old, and he's like doing drills in a Luka Mavericks shirt. At 13 years old, like barely in middle school.
He's really supposed to be preparing for the prom right now. Like he's that young. He's not even supposed to. He's still supposed to be a senior in high school.
When Anthony Davis was drafted, I think that Cooper Flagg was 6 years old because he was born 2006.
Makes me feel pretty young.
Feel great. One of the weaknesses you mentioned, and it's very funny to like read your. It's very funny to read your scouting report on it because the strength is so big, and then the weaknesses is like, well, I got a couple things here and there because he just doesn't, like you mentioned, it's really hard to find weaknesses. Yep. You mentioned his finishing at the rim, 58%, and you said that's a slight concern for you. What did you see there, and why did that become a concern that stood out?
Yeah, you would think with a guy that is as athletic as he is and as, I guess, skilled around the rim, that the percentage would be a little bit higher, especially when you compare it to Dylan Harper, who's going to be the number 2 pick. Dylan Harper made like 67% of his shots around the rim. Total difference in how they got to the rim. I think that spacing plays a big part of it. I think Cooper's going to be fine in the NBA, especially when you have floor spacers around him. But that was just, like I said, it was a slight concern. Again, you think it would be better. You think he'd be around 65%. I think maybe he needs to add some floaters or just kind of like soft touch finishes to his game. Because you can imagine on the high school level, everything was a dunk. Once he got in the paint, it was, it was a dunk. And so I think there was a slight curve to not being able to dunk everything. But I think that's really easily fixable.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to see. And the spacing is not going to be that great on the Mavericks. He's going to have shooters around him for sure, and the NBA spacing is going to be different. But he's probably going to play with a Lively or a Gafford a lot this season. He's going to play with an Anthony Davis who spaces the floor some, and I guess he has some gravity just because of the respect for him. But it's not going to be like you're playing a 5-out system, and he's going to have wide open like one-on-ones at the rim. That's something that I'm curious to see for sure. And I think it starts at Summer League just to see, all right, has he added any of those things? Does he how does he finish at the rim there?
Yep. I actually think his best position is at the 4. And so with Dallas, that's not going to give him, at least in my opinion, the best position to succeed as like this guy that can serve as like your role man, kind of like how the Warriors used to use Draymond Green when he was able to shoot the ball. Like you put him in the middle of the floor, he either threw a lob to Bogut or whoever was playing the 5, or he sprayed the ball to the corners, but then he was a pick and pop. I don't know if the way the roster is constructed now, you get the most out of him in that way. But thankfully, he's versatile enough to where you can play him kind of like, I just envision him playing like a Kawhi Leonard type role on offense, where he can post up some guys, he can knock down open shots, make some plays out of pick and roll. But I do want to see him as like the role man with floor spacing around him. I think you can really unlock something there.
Thinking about that Warrior system, I think it would be interesting when Kyrie does come back to see Cooper Flagg as they're going to play him at the 4 sometimes. Like they'll play AD at the 5, they'll play him at the 4, to have him be the one that is the point man, and then have Clay running around, Kyrie running around, because Kyrie's almost better like once you get him on the move, and then he makes his dribble moves after that, instead of just having him like pound the rock at guys. So that'll be interesting. So many different lineups I'm excited to see. Go check out Locked On NBA Big Board, the podcast every day for Rafael Barlowe. Great interviews on there as well. Go subscribe to NBA Big Board, the Substack. Awesome stuff on that one all the time. It's a great resource. All of us here at Locked On NBA, we use it. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow with one more thing and some more stuff as well. I've got JJ Jackson of Locked On Blue Devils coming up later this week. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.